Hey guys, it's Mrs. Decker. Welcome back to another video. Today we are going to look at factoring some more. I hope you watched the video yesterday on factoring out a greatest common factor. Today we're going to spend a little bit more time on this factoring idea. So we're just starting with our first technique, factoring out a greatest common factor. There are multiple techniques, so this will just be our first one. Because not every algebraic expression is written in the same way, and so we can't always use the same strategy when factoring. But today we're just focusing on factoring out a GCF. So the big thing here is no matter what technique you're using, factoring is just simply doing the reverse distributed property. It's just reversing that process of distributing. And so it's going to take some time and some practice to really train your brain on how to work backwards. We're so used to working forwards that reversing the process takes some time to get used to. So let's start with going forwards because that's what we're all familiar with and used to. So going forwards, as you can see from the examples below, is just with the parentheses. So it is distributing, and we all know that distributing means to multiply. And when we multiply the thing by with parentheses, that parentheses has a name. It's called factored form. So that's what we're starting with. It's already been factored. So the parentheses is factored form. And once we multiply it out into the multiple terms, that is called standard form or expanded form because we're getting rid of those parentheses and expanding it out. As we go through these examples, please do notice that both forms mean the exact same thing. They're just written in a different way. So we call that equivalent expressions. They mean the exact same. Just two different ways of writing it. So first example here, we have 5 times 2x minus 1. And so I'm going to multiply everything inside the parentheses by 5. So 5 times 2 is 10. X carries along. 5 times negative 1 is negative 5. Okay, so 5 times the quantity, 2x minus 1, means the same thing as 10 times x minus 5. Just drop my stylus thing. Okay, so next example, notice now we have a variable out front. We've got that x in front, so we're going to multiply everything by x. So x times 3x. Well, I know if there's not a number in front, it's an implied 1. So 1 times 3 is just 3. And then x times x, that's where we get the x to the second. And then multiplying the x times 4 gives me plus 4x. So notice this time, standard form, both pieces or both terms have an x in them, and that's because we distributed it to both terms. Third example here is kind of a combination of the first two. So we have a number and variable in front. So we're multiplying everything inside the parentheses by negative 2x. Again, we have that implied 1. So negative 2 times 1 is just negative 2. And x times x is that x squared. Then doing negative 2x times negative 6. A negative times a negative is a positive 12. And I still have that 1x that tags along. Looking at some more examples, I just flipped this table. So now on the left-hand side is standard form and the right-hand side is factoring. So kind of beginning that step of reversing the process. So looking closer at number 1, we have 6x to the second plus 18. So when I work backwards, I kind of like to start with what's my answer going to look like. And so I know I'm factoring it. I know I'm going to have that set of parentheses, and I'm going to have that number out front that I have to distribute through. So I put a blank there. And when I distribute through, I have to get back to my original. So I have to get back to the original two terms. So I have the two blanks there. And then if I look at the sign, it's positive. So I know there's going to be a plus sign between the two. So I have to ask myself, what can I multiply both of those terms by to get back to what I started with? Or if I just focus on the numbers 6 and 18, what's the greatest common factor between 6 and 18? So I know I can divide both by 2. I can divide both by 3. Always want to check multiples. So can I divide by 6? Yes, I can. So the 6 is what's going to go out front. That's what I can divide both pieces by. And then in the parentheses is going to be what's left over. So 6's are going to cancel. All I have left is x to the second. And then moving on to the second term, 18 divided by 6 is 3. So if I look at my answer choices, the A, B, C, D, or E, I just have a 6 out front and then an x squared plus 3 inside the parentheses. So that's going to be letter B. Going to the second example, 6x to the third plus 18x to the second. Again, I have 6 and 18. So I know I'm going to have a 6 in front. But this time, both terms also have an x. So I'm also going to pull out an x. And they both share 2 x's. So I'm going to take an x to the second out. So that's what I'm going to divide both of those by. 6x to the second. In the first term, the 6's are going to cancel. I started with x to the third, so I'm taking 2 of them out. So I'm only going to have 1 left. And then 18 divided by 6 is 3. And I'm taking all of the x squareds out, so those kind of bonk each other out there. So answer choices, I'd have a 6x to the second out front with an x plus 3 inside. So that's going to be letter D. Please go ahead and pause the video and try the last 3 on your own. All right, hope you guys had enough time to try the last 3. Let's check our answers. Number 3, I have a trinomial. I have 3 pieces that I'm starting with, so I know my parentheses is going to be actually a little bit bigger. I'm going to have 3 pieces left, and I can divide everything by 6. And I cannot take out an x because of that minus 6 at the end. So if you can't divide everything by it, you can't divide anything. Okay, so keep that in mind. So after I take out a 6 from each term, I'm going to have x squared plus 3x minus 1. So that looks like it's going to be E. Moving on to number 4, again, I can divide everything by 6, and they both have just 1x. So I'm going to take out a 6x. And that's going to give me x plus 3, which should be letter C. And so last but not least, number 5 better be A. So I'm going to take out just a 3 out of this one, and I can take out an x. I'll have 2x plus 6. Oops, I dropped a second power there. X, and then a minus 1. So that would be A. Number 5 is A. All right, so now let's bump it up a notch. And instead of having our answers to look at, let's just look at some examples here. Going backwards now, reversing it. So 3 basic steps. First thing is definitely find that greatest common factor, aka GCF. And then since we're reversing it, you're going to then divide everything by the GCF. And you know your answer is going to take on this form. Okay, so I kind of always like to start with that skeleton form. So first example, 4 and 20, I can divide both of those by 4. 4's cancel. So I'll have x minus 20 divided by 4 is 5. And I divided by a 4, so that's got to go out front. That's part of my answer. Checking my answer really quickly. Best thing about math is you can check your answers. Distributing that 4 is going to give me 4x, and 4 times negative 5 is negative 20. So that all checked out. I get what I started with. Second example, both terms have an x, so I know I can take an x out, and then 3 and 12 I can divide both by 3. So 3x comes out front, and what's left over goes in parentheses. 3's cancel. I will only have 1x left. And then next term, 12 divided by 3 is 4, and the x's will cancel. Checking my answer, 3x squared, and 3x times 4 is 12x. So that looks good. Moving right along to the third example. This time I have 3 terms, -5, 15, and -40. I can divide everything by 5. And I would also want to check my variable. Can I divide everything by x? And I can't because the 40 doesn't have an x. But I would like to, because that first number is negative, I'd actually like to divide by -5. So -5 comes out front. My parentheses is going to be a little bit bigger because I have 3 terms. Dividing out the first term, -5's cancel, so all I have left is x to the second. Second term, 15 divided by -5 is -3, and then I still have that x because I'm not messing with the variable. And then last term, -40 divided by -5 is going to be a +8. And like always, we can check our answer and make sure we get back to what we started with. -5x squared plus 15x, and then -40. Next example, this one everybody gets stuck on because we just see the numbers out front, the 1 and the 7, and we know, hey, there's no common factor there, but they both have an x. Oh my goodness, my cats are going crazy on the Christmas tree right now. I don't know if you can hear that. So just taking out the x, what's left over, I started with x to the second, taking 1 out, so I still have an x left. And the second term, the x's are going to cancel. So this time I only have the 7 left. Checking my answers, x times x, hey, there's that x squared. And x times 7 is 7x. Last example. See if I still have a Christmas tree standing. All right, we've got trinomial again. And 3 terms. 2, -14, and -32. I can divide everything by 2. And they all have an x, so I can take an x out. So 2x goes out front. That's my GCF. I got a trinomial, so bigger set of parentheses. First term, 2's cancel. I start with x to the third, but I'm taking an x out, so I'm only going to have 2 left. Next term, -14 divided by 2 is -7. Starting with 2 x's, taking 1 out, leaves me with 1. And last term, -32 divided by 2 is -16. And boom, the x's cancel. Checking my answer, 2x to the third minus 14x and -32. Whoops, I dropped that squared. -32x. That checked out. All right, so guys, I hope that this second video has really helped you better understand the factoring process, especially how to identify that greatest common factor and then how to write your answers after dividing it out. As always, please feel free to reach out to me, message me, email me if you have any questions or if there's anything I can help with. Also, be sure to be checking your email and your Schoology message as I'm checking on your progress each day. I have sent out quite a few individual messages, so please keep an eye out for that, and please message me back if you do get one of those. I hope you guys all have a great day, and I hope you're successful with the Schoology practice problems that I created for you. You can retake those up to 3 times, so you can check your answers and then go back and try to correct it and get a better score. All right, guys, we'll see you soon. Have a good day.